What if your real exhaustion isn't coming from life, but from your own mind? Because there are people who have problems, pressure, grey days, and still walk through life with an inner calm that cannot be shaken. It's not luck. It's not that they were born strong. It's that they learned how to live without beating themselves up every time something goes wrong. Stay with me. Gabriel here. Welcome to the Stoic Garden. Today we're going to walk through 9 mental habits, the kind that give you back your inner peace and keep you standing when other people feel like their world is falling apart, so that by the end you'll have a clear way to organize your mind, protect your energy, and keep moving forward without losing yourself. And I'll warn you now, the last one ties everything together and forces you to look at yourself honestly. Let's begin. 1. Speak to yourself with respect and stop punishing yourself for the past. This habit seems obvious, but most people live as if they've got an executioner living inside their head. You make a mistake, and instead of correcting it, you insult yourself. You remember something old, and instead of learning from it, you humiliate yourself. And somehow, you expect to have inner peace. It's like trying to sleep with music blasting at full volume and then blaming the bed. Your mind talks to you all day long, even when you don't notice it. And the problem isn't that it thinks, the problem is the tone. That tired judge's tone that forgives nothing, that reminds you of your worst moments right when you're trying to move forward. That's not self-awareness, that's self-sabotage with a good reputation. Sometimes you tell yourself it's to keep you humble, to stop you from getting too confident. That's a lie. You do it because you got used to surviving on pressure and guilt, as if the whip were the only language you understand. And yes, it works, it gets you moving for a while, but it breaks you on the inside. What kind of strength is that, if it only exists when you treat yourself like the enemy? Look at the past for what it is. A file, not a home. You don't live there, you check it, learn from it, and close it. When you go back to the same scene over and over just to punish yourself, you're not fixing anything. You're rehearsing pain. And the more you rehearse it, the more natural it becomes. Inner peace begins when you change the conversation. I'm not talking about saying nice things to yourself because it's trendy. I'm talking about speaking to yourself with respect, like someone who's building something serious. Respect means recognizing the mistake without turning it into your identity. It means saying I was wrong without following it with I'm a disaster. Because responsibility is one thing and a life sentence is another. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. Marcus Aurelius, who had the weight of the world on his shoulders and still wrote to correct himself in silence, left behind a line that ought to be stuck to your forehead. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. And he didn't say it like a poet. He said it like someone who knew that a neglected mind can turn any life into a battlefield. So start with something small but real. When the memory that fills you with shame comes up, don't run from it and don't dramatize it. Breathe and tell yourself the full truth. It happened, I learned. I'm not that person anymore. And if it still hurts, let it hurt, but don't use it as an excuse to keep beating yourself up. Pain is a signal, not permission to destroy yourself. And when you finally start speaking to yourself with respect, something strange happens. You begin to get your energy back, because you had been spending half your strength fighting yourself. And that's when you see the next massive leak in your peace, the habit of fighting things that were never in your hands to begin with. 2. Accept what you no longer control and save your energy for what matters. This habit is the filter that separates calm people from exhausted people, because some people have problems, yes, but they don't ruin their lives fighting the weather, traffic, their boss's personality, or the way the world should behave. Accepting is not applauding what happens. It's stopping the act as if the universe owes you an explanation. You can complain, grumble, throw a mental tantrum, and reality will still stay exactly the same, with the same cold face. The question is not whether you like it. The question is whether you're going to spend your energy on what actually moves the needle or on what only drains you. A lot of people confuse control with safety. They think that if they think about it 10 times, if they anticipate 20 scenarios, if they reread the message 3 times, then they'll prevent the pain. The only thing they prevent is peace. You become the guard of a prison you built yourself, and then you wonder why you're anxious. Life is going to throw changes at you, put difficult people in your path, and close doors without giving you a speech. And you can respond like an adult, or like someone demanding that the world handle them with care. Because that's what's really underneath it, a childish demand that everything be fair, clear, organized, and predictable. Sure, and while we're at it, let the coffee be served at the exact right temperature so you don't suffer. At the center of all this is a daily decision. Separate what depends on you from what doesn't. Your behavior, your focus, your boundaries, your work, your preparation, those depend on you. Other people's opinions, someone else's mood, perfect results, or how quickly life rewards you, those do not. And when you forget that difference, you start asking the world for things that only you can give yourself. In the middle of the day, when everything has already started irritating you, stop and ask yourself honestly whether the thing consuming you is something you can actually solve, or whether it's just feeding your need for control. Does this really deserve your energy, or are you just trying to feel busy so you don't have to feel vulnerable? Because there's a trap there. Worrying makes you feel like you're doing something. Saving energy is not about becoming passive. It's about becoming precise. It's about stopping the habit of handing out your strength as if it were limitless. It isn't. Your energy is a budget, and if you waste it on internal arguments with the unavoidable, there will be nothing left for what actually builds, what actually improves your life, what actually moves you forward. When you accept what you no longer control, you're left with something very uncomfortable and very powerful at the same time: responsibility. You can't blame fate for your mental chaos anymore. You can't justify your exhaustion with, "That's just how I am." You have to choose where your attention goes, which battles are worth it, what needs to be let go, and what needs to be done. And as soon as you start doing that, the next challenge appears, because it's not enough to let go of what you can't control. You also have to learn how to protect your attention, because if you leave the door open, worry walks right in and makes you sick without even asking permission. 3. Protect your attention and stop feeding worries that make you sick, because attention is your life in the form of a budget, and you're spending it as if you had plenty to spare. Most people wake up and the first thing they do is open the door to noise, other people's urgency, the world's drama, comparison, complaint, and then they wonder why they have no inner peace. It's like dumping dirt into water and getting upset because it's no longer clean. There's a huge difference between dealing with something and worrying about it. Dealing with something is action. Worrying is imagination fueled by anxiety. It's a movie your mind produces in high definition, with surround sound, where the worst always happens and you always lose. And the most ironic part is that many times you're not even living the problem, you're living the trailer for the problem. Chronic worry feels responsible, feels mature, feels like you're preparing yourself. But in reality, it's eating your body alive from the inside. It makes you tense, steals your sleep, makes you irritable, cuts your patience with people who aren't to blame. And to make it worse, it robs you of the clarity you actually need to deal with what's real. Brilliant strategy. And here comes the uncomfortable point that sets you free. How many of the worries dragging you down today have actually come true exactly the way you imagined them? How many times have you suffered twice, once in your head and once in reality, by racing ahead to something that never even happened? An anxious mind is an expert at making you pay the bill before the order even exists. Seneca, who certainly wasn't a man with a simple life, warned about this centuries ago in his letters. He said that anticipating imaginary misfortunes means voluntarily carrying a burden that reality may never place on us. And Seneca wasn't speaking from some philosophical cloud. He was speaking like someone who had seen how fear of the future can turn you into your own jailer, even when there are no bars outside. Protecting your attention is not about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming selective. It's about stopping the habit of feeding yourself things that overstimulate your nervous system and then expecting calm. It's deciding that you're not going to start the day with 10 tragedies on a screen, and you're not going to go to sleep with your head full of other people's unfinished business. Your mind is not a public garbage dump. And yes, I know, it sounds basic, but the basics are what almost nobody does. It also means learning not to argue with every thought that shows up. Because your mind is going to throw out ideas the way someone tosses paper scraps into the air, and you stay there picking up every one of them as if they were orders. They're not. A thought is a proposal, not a sentence, and some proposals get rejected without guilt. When the spiral catches you, lower the volume with one simple question at the right moment. Is this thing I'm thinking about happening right now, or am I creating it? And if it is happening, what concrete action depends on me today? Because if there's no action, then everything else is just wear and tear disguised as being prepared. And when you start taking care of your attention, something interesting happens. Life still has problems, of course, but they stop feeling like giant monsters made of fog. The movie stops controlling you, and reality does. And then you're ready for the next habit, the one that separates the person who falls apart from the one who grows stronger every time life hits them. Habit number 4. See problems as character training, not as a sentence. Because there are people who see an obstacle and translate it as, "That's it, this is the end." And there are others who see the same obstacle and translate it as, "This is where the training happens." The difference is not the problem. It's the interpretation you give it while you're looking at it. When you turn every difficulty into a condemnation, you become fragile. Not because you're weak, but because you're telling yourself a story where you're always the victim and you always lose. And that story becomes your identity. You start talking like someone defeated even when there are still options. And the worst part is, life doesn't actually need to finish you off. It's enough that you declare yourself finished. The problem itself is almost never as devastating as your reaction. What's devastating is the mental theater you build on top of it. A dramatic mind takes a stumble and turns it into destiny. It takes "today was hard" and turns it into "my life is like this." It takes "I got rejected" and turns it into "I'm worthless." And then people wonder why they're exhausted. You're not tired of living, you're tired of interpreting. Reality is simpler, and that's exactly why it's hard to accept. Character is built in discomfort. No one becomes steady on easy days. A muscle doesn't grow through gentle touches, it grows through resistance. And you want inner peace, but without weight, without sweat, without patience, without having to endure anything. Does that really sound coherent to you? You want strength with an instruction manual and an extended warranty. Look at what happens when you change the lens. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this asking of me?" Not to romanticize pain, but to extract what's useful. Because a problem, looked at clearly, reveals your cracks, your lack of boundaries, your impatience, your pride, your dependence, your fear. And that, even if it stings, is valuable information. When something squeezes you, that's when it becomes clear who you are. That's when your real inner language comes out. It shows whether you respect yourself or abandon yourself. It shows whether you react like a wounded child or like an adult who can hold themselves together. And yes, it's unfair that life puts you through tests, but life isn't customer service. It's not going to apologize for disrupting your comfort. Character training means you don't respond just to unload. You respond to build. You give yourself a second before you speak. You take a breath before you decide. You let yourself feel without handing the steering wheel over to emotion. And when you make a mistake, you correct it without drama, like someone adjusting a technique, not like someone declaring themselves a failure. And watch this, because there's hidden pride here. Some people suffer, and then get offended that they're suffering as if it were a personal insult, as if life should acknowledge that you didn't deserve that blow. Fine. You can hold on to that indignation, but it will cost you dearly. Or you can use what happened as a stone to stand taller. It's not poetry, it's survival with dignity. When you understand that problems are not a sentence, you recover something essential: inner freedom. You no longer depend on everything going well in order to be at peace. You are at peace because you choose your posture, even when the day presses down on you. And that posture needs daily support, something simple, steady, almost boring, but powerful. That takes us straight to the next habit, the discipline that holds even when you don't feel like it. 5. Keep a simple, steady discipline, even when you don't feel like it. Because inner peace is not held together by pretty emotions, it's held together by boring habits. The people who never give up are not the ones who are always motivated. They're the ones who stopped asking their mood for permission to do what needs to be done. There are days when you feel strong and clear, and there are days when you wake up feeling like someone drained your soul with a hose. On both kinds of days, life keeps moving. The bills don't pause. Your health doesn't freeze. Your decisions don't become less important just because you woke up not feeling it. So either you build a discipline that can hold you up, or you become a hostage to your mood. Simple discipline is almost insulting in how basic it is. Go to bed at a decent hour, eat like an adult, move your body even a little, keep your word, keep your space in order, finish what you start. It's not glamorous. There's no applause. It doesn't feel epic. And that's exactly why it works. Because it doesn't depend on the show, it depends on consistency. And this is where a lot of people get tangled up in a polished excuse. I'm just not at my best today. Fine. So what? Is your life only going to be built on the days when you feel inspired and aligned with the stars? Do you really need motivation to brush your teeth? Or do you just like negotiating with yourself like a child throwing a tantrum? Because that's what you do. You sit down at the internal table to debate with yourself until you're exhausted, and in the end, you do nothing. People who have peace are not spending all day deciding whether they're going to be consistent. They already decided. They have 2 or 3 clear internal rules, and they follow them whether they're in a good mood or completely worn out. Not because they're rigid, but because they understand something you know too, even if you keep pretending not to notice. Every time you fail in something small, your mind registers that you are not reliable. And when you don't trust yourself, no peace can hold up. Panetius of Rhodes, a Stoic who brought these ideas down into the real life of busy people, said it with a simplicity that leaves no room for stories. Duty does not always align with inclination, but it is precisely there that virtue is tested. It's not a quote for you to tattoo on yourself. It's a practical reminder. What matters is proven when you don't feel like it, when no one is watching, when you could come up with a convincing reason to put it off. Steady discipline gives you something worth more than any burst of motivation. It gives you respect for yourself. You look in the mirror and know that you can count on yourself, that you don't sell yourself out for comfort, that you don't betray yourself out of laziness, and that certainty, even if it's quiet, is a form of peace. It's like walking with solid ground under your feet. And be careful here, discipline is not punishment. Discipline is support. If you slip one day, you return. You don't make a drama out of it. You don't declare yourself lost. You don't throw yourself into a week of self-destruction because I already broke the streak. That's pride in disguise. Someone who takes their life seriously adjusts and keeps going, like someone straightening the wheel and staying on the road. When you keep that simple discipline, you start noticing something else. You no longer need so many things to feel okay. You become more sober on the inside. And that inner sobriety opens the door to the next habit, because peace is also nourished by knowing how to value what is essential, without fooling yourself and without living in constant complaint, as if the whole world were missing from your life. Habit number 6, value what is essential and be grateful without being naive, with your feet on the ground. Because there are people who have a functional life with things they once would have dreamed of and still live as if they were gasping for air. It's not that something is missing, it's that they don't see it. They take it for granted. And whatever you take for granted, sooner or later, you lose it or ruin it. Gratitude is not smiling while people walk all over you. It's not denying what's hard. It's not repeating sweet phrases to numb yourself. Gratitude is seeing clearly what is still here, even in the middle of chaos, and using that as a foundation so you don't fall apart. It's a stance, not decoration. What is essential almost never makes noise. Your breathing doesn't send you notifications. Your body doesn't applaud you when it's working well. Hot water doesn't hand you a medal every morning. Having a roof over your head, having food on your plate, having one person who responds to you with respect, all of that becomes invisible once you get used to it. And when what was invisible is gone, then you cry out, then you understand, then you regret it. Always too late, like any distracted human being. And in the middle of the day, when you feel heavy, tense with that sense that nothing is enough, let me tell you plainly, stop and look at yourself. What part of your life have you started to despise out of habit? What is working for you that you don't even appreciate anymore because you've turned it into an obligation? Because that silent ingratitude doesn't just make you bitter, it also makes you demanding, and someone who is demanding about everything and everyone is rarely at peace. There are people who live in complaint mode as if it were a hobby. They complain about work, the weather, their body, their age, their family, their country, other people, the noise, the silence. And yes, some things are hard. But if your mind only knows how to point out what's missing, it will never know how to rest. You'll gain something and a minute later already be thinking about the next thing. You'll achieve something and a minute later already be minimizing it. And then you wonder why you feel empty. Being grateful with your feet on the ground looks like this. You recognize what is good without idolizing it, and you recognize what is bad without giving up. You get up, and before chasing the day, you make one act of inner sobriety. You tell yourself that today you have a body that responds, that you have a place to return to, that you have a chance to do something decent with your hours. Not as some mystical ritual, but as a reminder of reality. And here comes something important, because a lot of people get confused. Gratitude does not mean settling for crumbs. You can be grateful for your stability and still set boundaries. You can appreciate someone for what they did right and still walk away if they disrespect you. Gratitude does not make you naive. It makes you aware. When you value what is essential, a kind of clarity falls over you that hurts a little. You start to see how much time you waste comparing yourself, envying, chasing things just to impress people who do not even know you, and that clarity cleanses you. It gives you back your priorities. It gives you back your calm. And that calm has a natural enemy, because not everyone likes your serenity. There are people who live off chaos, spread it, provoke it, contaminate with it. If you want to protect the peace you are building, the next habit is unavoidable. Set firm boundaries and learn to walk away from those who disturb your center as if it were a sport. 7. Set firm boundaries and avoid people who disturb your peace at this stage of life. Because there comes a point in life when running into people who drain you is no longer just bad luck. It's selection, and if you keep allowing the same thing, it's not that the world is harsh. It's that you keep leaving the door open. There are people who do not want your well-being. They want your availability. They want you accessible, accommodating, always ready to listen, to solve, to endure. And the day you are not, they get offended. As if your peace were a betrayal. As if your exhaustion were a whim. Convenient, isn't it? Boundaries are not a speech. They are behavior. It means not replying at certain hours. It means not justifying yourself every time you say no. It means not explaining your life to someone who is only looking for a crack to slip through. It means understanding that but their family does not turn disrespect into love. Age does not obligate you to endure more. It should teach you to filter better. And this is where many people fail, because they think setting boundaries makes them bad. No, it makes them adults. What makes you small is continuing to accept emotional scraps and calling that loyalty. You adapted so much to never inconveniencing anyone that now your own peace feels like a luxury. And no, it isn't. It's mental hygiene. Halfway through, look at yourself without any polish. Who are you giving access to your mind as if it were a public waiting room? Who do you keep replying to out of habit, even though every conversation leaves you heavier than before? Because if you do not protect your peace, no one is coming with a helmet and vest to protect it for you. People take what you allow. That is how the world works. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the most practical Stoics, said it with a clarity that strips away your excuses. If you handed your body over to just anyone, you would be outraged. But you hand your mind over to the first person who provokes you, criticizes you, manipulates you, and on top of that, you normalize it. That is not kindness. That is a lack of self-mastery. Avoiding people who disturb your peace does not mean hating them. It means having the maturity to recognize the pattern. There are people who live in complaint, gossip, conflict, drama, and you stand there as if it will not splash onto you. Of course it splashes onto you. It changes your mood, clouds your attention, steals your energy, and then you go home and take it out on the people who actually love you, or on yourself. A perfect deal for chaos. So stop negotiating with someone who already showed you who they are. Set boundaries without making a show of it. If someone pulls away because they can no longer use you, they did you a favor. Inner peace is not gained by adding more people, but by choosing better. And once you finally start protecting your environment, you come face to face with another enemy, one that does not arrive in the form of a person, but in the form of discomfort. Because life changes, tightens, unsettles, and your mind has to grow stronger so it does not fall apart every time something shifts. Number 8. Learn to tolerate discomfort and strengthen your mind in the face of change. Because most people do not give up because they lack ability, they give up because they are allergic to discomfort. The moment something demands patience, silence, sustained effort, or uncertainty. They start looking for a quick way out, and then they wonder why life feels so unstable. Of course it does. If your mind only knows how to live when everything feels comfortable, every change is going to feel like a threat. Inner peace is not the absence of discomfort. It is the ability to be uncomfortable without losing yourself, to feel tension without panicking, to stop turning every unpleasant feeling into an alarm that says, something must be wrong with me. Sometimes nothing is wrong with you. Sometimes you are just growing, and growth feels strange, heavy, slow. Change is going to visit you whether you want it to or not. Your body changes, people change, your plans change, your priorities change. And if your mind has been trained only for what is familiar, every adjustment is going to hurt twice as much. Because you are not only dealing with reality, you are also dealing with your resistance. That resistance is what wears you down, not the change itself. Discomfort, when tolerated well, makes you stable. It teaches you to breathe when you do not have total control. It teaches you to act even with fear present. It teaches you not to run for desperate distractions every time emptiness shows up. And this is where many people expose themselves, because the moment they feel discomfort, they rush to numb it with a screen, food, shopping, messages, noise, anything, as long as they do not have to sit with themselves for a while. And then they say they want peace. Sure, in the middle of that urge to escape, ask yourself a question that does not let you lie. Is this thing I am avoiding protecting me or weakening me? Because avoidance can feel like relief, but in the long run it trains fragility. Your mind learns that it cannot hold anything, and when something serious comes, it breaks. Learning to tolerate discomfort does not mean chasing suffering like it is a sport. It means stopping the habit of dramatizing what is normal. A hard day is not a tragedy. A difficult conversation is not the end of the world. A change of plans is not some personal attack from fate. It is life. And if you want to live with dignity, you need a mind that does not collapse at the first jolt. When you strengthen your mind in the face of change, you become freer. You no longer need everything to be perfect in order to move forward. You can keep going with your stomach in knots. You can hold your ground through a no. You can wait without unraveling. You can rebuild yourself without begging for stability from the outside. And that freedom leads you to the final habit, the one that ties everything together and forces you to live with real direction, not on impulse. Because peace is not sustained only by avoiding chaos, it is sustained by moving towards something that makes you feel whole. 9, and the last one. Live with daily purpose and move forward without betraying yourself. Because people who live in peace are not the ones with perfect lives, they are the ones with direction. And no, I am not talking about having some epic big dream to talk about over dinner. I'm talking about knowing why you get up, what kind of person you're building, and what things you are no longer willing to do to yourself. Most people give up because they live adrift. One day they do what they should, the next day what they feel like, the next day whatever fear tells them to do. And when they look back, they do not see a path, they see a pile of disconnected decisions. That wears you down more than any problem, because what exhausts you is not effort, it is inconsistency. Daily purpose is not an inspiring speech, it is a simple compass you use in the small things. You can see it in how you respond when someone provokes you. You can see it in whether you return to what is good for you, even when no one applauds you. You can see it in whether you keep your word to yourself, even when no one finds out. Inner peace is not built with grand words, it is built with choices that do not make you ashamed in private. And here comes the part you need to face head on. How many times have you betrayed yourself just to please others, just to avoid being alone, just to avoid discomfort, just to avoid losing something that was already draining the life out of you? How many times have you said yes out loud while inwardly saying no? And then you wonder why you are anxious, why you cannot rest, why you feel a kind of emptiness. Of course, you are living as if you were your own second choice. Living with purpose also means accepting that there are roads that no longer fit who you are. Things that, at a certain age, already look ridiculous, like begging for attention, staying where there is no respect, holding on to habits that destroy you, and then saying, that's just who I am. Sure, that is who you are, as long as you keep choosing the same thing. It is not identity, it is repetition. Marcus Aurelius, who carried more pressure than most of us ever will and still demanded clarity from himself, wrote it down like someone giving himself an order. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life, free from all aimlessness, all falsehood, and all self-indulgence. And that was an emperor speaking, not an internet guru. It is not drama, it is sober urgency. If you are going to live, then live without pretending. So bring it down to earth. Daily purpose can be as simple as this. Today, I do not abandon myself. Today, I do not respond from impulse. Today, I do what needs to be done even if my mood is weak. Today, I protect my attention and my body as if they were sacred, because they are. And today, I do not sell myself cheap. That is already a purpose. That is already direction. And do not get it twisted. Purpose does not mean you never doubt. Doubt is human. What destroys you is not doubt, but living without principles and calling that freedom. Do you really want to keep improvising your life as if it were one endless rehearsal? Or is it finally time to act like someone who respects themselves and takes their life seriously? Moving forward without betraying yourself means not all progress is worth it. Some forms of progress are really setbacks with better packaging. Making money while losing your health. Having a relationship while losing your dignity. Fitting in while losing your voice. That is not moving forward, that is trading yourself away for scraps. The inner peace we talked about today is not a feeling, it is a consequence. It is what appears when your mind speaks to you with respect, when you stop fighting the uncontrollable, when you guard your attention, train through problems, keep discipline, value what is essential, filter the people around you, tolerate discomfort, and walk with purpose. And when you do that, you do not give up so easily anymore. Because at last you are living a life that actually belongs to you. In the end, inner peace does not arrive when the world calms down. It arrives when you stop living as your own enemy. When you speak to yourself with respect, let go of useless control, protect your attention, and turn every blow into training, your mind stops being a minefield and starts becoming a place you can actually live in. And from there, giving up no longer makes sense because you are not running from your life, you are holding it up. Now it is your turn, but for real, in everyday life. Choose one habit and practice it today, not when you feel ready, because you will never feel ready if you keep waiting. Make one small adjustment, set one boundary you have been postponing, turn off one distraction that is making you sick. Keep one small promise to yourself. Peace is not declared, it is proven through behavior, and dignity is built in those moments when you could betray yourself and choose not to. If this video brought some order to your mind, subscribe to the Stoic Garden and turn on notifications so you can keep training your mind with me. And write the phrase, "I cultivate my mental garden" in the comments, so I know you are here to build calm with character, not just to listen to pretty words. And while you are there, tell me what country you are listening from, because this community is recognized by what it chooses, not by what it shows off. Gabriel here, and this was the Stoic Garden. On your screen you are about to see 2 recommended videos so you can keep sharpening your composure and your direction, because this is not something you understand once. It is something you practice. See you in the next one, and do not forget, your peace is not something you beg for, it is something you protect.